और जो योगा बता देना मैं लिख
लेटेंसी तो नॉर्मल अपने सेट करी है ना, बहुत बढ़िया होगा। ऑडियो ऑफ करनी पड़ेगी ऑडियो
pleasure to welcome you to the 6th Biennial International Convention, Vimarsh 2023, on the topic India on the Path to Sustainable and Inclusive Development, Myth or Reality, organized by Shri Guru Gobind Singh College of Commerce. This platform brings together experts, scholars, and professionals from various fields to share their knowledge and experiences. I hope this forum will provide an opportunity for all of us to network, exchange ideas, and it also gives us scope for future collaborations, partnerships, and synergies. To our participants, I would like to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend this convention. Your presence here today demonstrates your commitment to learning and your dedication to advancing your knowledge. I am confident that you will find this event extremely informative and insightful. We begin today's event on the note of hope and positivity with lamp lighting ceremony. Lighting a lamp is a symbol of dispelling darkness and ignorance and ushering in knowledge and wisdom. It invokes the blessings of the divine and brings clarity of thought and enlightenment. I request Professor Kavagin, convener Vimarsh, and our principal, Dr. Jatinder Singh, to accompany our guests for lamp lighting. Now I invite our guest speakers for the inaugural session on the dais at the beginning of the program. I take immense pride in introducing our college to the guests and audience. Shri Guru Gobind Singh College of Commerce, founded in 1984, is a premier institute of the University of Delhi, specializing in commerce, economics, business studies, and computer science. It has been accredited with an A++ grade by National Assessment and Accreditation Council. The college has meticulously worked its way to develop future leaders in business, government, and academia by offering excellence in education and imparting training. The college places immense focus on building research acumen among students and faculty. We've been organizing Vimarsh biennial convention since 2013 on diverse, pertinent socio-economic issues such as economic reforms, booming service sector, circular economy, disruptive innovations, and financial ecosystem. This year, we've chosen the most contemporary area of assessing India on the path of sustainability and inclusiveness. With India gaining G20 presidency, we need to check whether we are well prepared and to spearhead critical agendas and deliver solutions to pressing challenges faced by the world. We have designed today's program to pragmatically understand the core, mantle, and the thrust of our theme. After the experts' opinion in the inaugural session, we have a session by researchers and academia on the three pillars: sustainability, environment, and economy. Later, we have a session on the sustainability in action, where we have few real-life heroes working and contributing in diverse areas of sustainability and inclusivity. They will share with us their experiences, journey, challenges, success story, and future goals. At the end, we have the final round of business plan competition green pitch. We had proudly received 175 entries from esteemed colleges across India, out of which 12 student teams were selected, who gave their presentations in our college on 22nd of March. The invited panel of judges selected three best teams for the final round. These teams will give their presentations today, and the winning team will be announced. We are truly honored to have such an esteemed group of speakers who have traveled from different parts of the world to be here today. Before we start with our inaugural session, let's accord a warm welcome to our guest speakers. I request our Principal Sir, Dr. Singh, to felicitate our Chief Guest, Dr. Han Ulash Demira, with a short. I request Professor Karagil to welcome Dr. Demira with a planter and books. Thank you, sir. I request Dr. Rekha Sharma to felicitate our keynote speaker, Mr. Lavanya Prakash Jena, with shawl, planter, and books. I request Dr. Gurleen Kaur to felicitate our guest of honor, Mr. Amitabh Beher, with a shawl. I request Dr. Gobind Kaur to welcome Mr. Beher with planter and books. Now I request Dr. Paramjit Kaur to welcome our guest of honor, Mr. Jan Darla, with a shawl. I request Mrs. Christine Kaur to felicitate Mr. Jan with a planter and books. Now I invite Professor Kamal Gill, convener Vimarsh, for the opening remarks.
A very good morning to dear students, faculty members, esteemed guests, dignitaries sitting on the dais and audience. I, on behalf of Seminar Committee of the Gobind College of Commerce, welcome you all in the 6th Biennial Convention. As the theme of the convention is India on the path to sustainable and inclusive development, I will be briefly talking about the concept of inclusive development and how it is intertwined with sustainable development. Etymologically, inclusive development is a combination of words, inclusive and development. Inclusive means a sense of belonging, feeling respected, valued for who you are, feeling a level of supportive energy and commitment from others so that you can do your best work. The concept of inclusive development has its roots in almost all major ancient civilizations. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is a Sanskrit phrase which means the whole world is one single family, originated in ancient Indian texts, the Upanishads, and is considered an integral part of the Hindu philosophy. Here, inclusion means a broader interrelationship among people across the society. Evidence found in the Indus Valley civilization shows that this culture spread across hundreds of kilometers and provided facilities for all, that is roads, bathrooms, transport and storage facilities. Similarly, the village republic or the Gram Panchayat, which has existed in India for centuries, is a form of inclusive development. A similar ancient African concept is Ubuntu. It is an ethic or humanist philosophy focusing on people's allegiances and relations with each other. Confucius, the Chinese thinker and a social philosopher whose teachings and philosophy have deeply influenced Chinese, Korean, Japanese, Taiwanese, and Vietnamese thought and life, mentioned that in a country well governed, poverty is something to be ashamed of. And in a country badly governed, wealth is something to be ashamed of. In the 18th century, Adam Smith, in his famous Wealth of Nations, mentioned, no society can surely be flourishing and happy, of which, by far, the greater part of the numbers are poor and miserable. Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation and a great visionary, also observed, no culture can live if it attempts to be exclusive. The philosophical understanding of development has undergone massive change in the last few decades. Interdisciplinary approaches hailing from philosophy to spiritualism are gaining space in the newer form of development thinking that takes into account the entire globe. A body of alternative thinking has developed in recent years. For example, development as freedom, Amartya Sen, development in terms of gross national happiness as in Bhutan, Amartya Sen and Mehboob ul Haq, founders of the Human Development Report, Mahmoud Yunus, the Nobel laureate who popularized the Grameen Bank in Bangladesh, Joseph Stiglitz, all furthers the philosophy of inclusive development. It is now widely understood that real and sustained social and economic progress cannot truly occur if a large segment of society is marginalized. This is the reason why inclusive development as a strategy for all-round development seems to have gained wide appeal among all stakeholders, government, non-government organizations, intellectuals, and civil society organizations. According to Amartya Sen, human development is all about creating an environment in which people can develop their full potential and lead productive, creative lives in accord with their needs and interests. People are the real wealth of nations. Development is thus about expanding the choices people have to lead lives that they value. And it is much more than economic growth, which is only a means of enlarging people's choices. On the other hand, the exclusion of individuals and groups can become a major threat to social cohesion and dangerously affect the humanity. Today, in the world of intense globalization, the world is witnessing severe ethnic problems, insurgencies, caste violence, social unrest, unemployment, poverty, malnutrition, etc., which severely affect the peaceful existence of human beings. These exclusions are not simple, but a complex phenomenon. Today we live in a world of unprecedented opulence, which is monopolized by a microscopic few. We also have a large section of people living in deprivation and without human dignity. This contradiction between opulence and deprivation is perhaps one of the important characteristics of today, and the key development challenge is how to overcome this. Since the last decade, there has been growing realization among development thinkers about the need for sustainable and long-term development that includes equity for humanity. Hence, there is now greater emphasis on the wider perspectives that include not only the economic but political, cultural, social, and psychological aspects of human beings. This development is in harmony with equity and social justice. Inclusive development in this context is a counterforce to such undesirable and unequal development. Inclusion and exclusion are very deeply rooted in society and it exists in both economic as well as in non-economic aspects, such as norms, culture, belief, system, and historical legacy. The political system influences the level of inclusion and exclusion. Thus, the approach towards inclusive development varies from situation, country, culture, history, and political economy. Several developed and developing countries have their own approaches to inclusive development and have enacted legislations and incorporated equality clauses in their constitutions. Specifically, with reference to India, a number of inclusive development policy measures have been taken by the government of India in the last 75 years of independence. As India marches ahead to complete 100 years of independence, the vision for Amritkal, India at the rate 2047, as highlighted in the current financial budget, is to create an empowered and inclusive economy through technology-driven and knowledge-based economy, strong public finances, and a robust financial sector. The identified segments for inclusive development in the vision plan are tribal and rural communities, physically challenged section of the society, unbanked sector and women. The government philosophy of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas and Sabka Saath, Sabka Prayas has facilitated inclusive development covering in specifically in farmers, women, youth, OBCs, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and economically weaker sections, and the overall priority for the underprivileged section of the society. In the last, India has selected the theme of One Earth, One Family, One Future for its G20 presidency. It signals the need for unity of purpose and unity of action. It is Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam again, and with this vision, India shines and it will continue to do so. Thank you so much. Now I would request Dr. Jatinder Singh, the principal of our college, to give the welcome address.
We're so delighted to have our guest today, Mr. Lavanya Dena from Commonwealth Secretariat. He's the Budget Finance Advisor, and Mr. Lemira, Director, International Fund for Agriculture Development, Mr. Amitabh Bhagat, who is CEO of Offset, and Jan Rebolo, who is CEO of Offset. Welcome to all of you for on occasion of the seminar that we are holding today. The conference theme has three themes, sub-themes: the growth, the inclusiveness, and the sustainability. Especially in relation to India, we have seen the debate across the globe as to how the three of them are carving their paths. But historically, India, when we did tradition from Hindu rate of growth about 3.5% to high growth rate is 7, 8, 9%. Growth itself was considered as the panacea for all economic aims. That the dominant philosophy was that if you have a higher growth rate, it will take care of inequalities, it will take care of poverty, it will take care of. So the sole focus on the per capita income growth, that was thought to be the savior for the economy. But then we realized that higher growth rate sometimes doesn't give fruits because the market is ruthless, it is emotionless. It doesn't give fruits to the to the people who are outside the market, for those people for whom the market doesn't care. So the government then started thinking about the redistributive policies, so that the cake that emerges is can be distributed to the people at large. So many programs from the 80s onwards, we have the now we have the Manrega, we have the right to food, we have the poverty rule program. So all these programs were ultimately aimed at what? They were aimed at reducing the poverty, so that the high growth rate of it is only if it is serving the purpose of the workplace. So there should also be a redistributive policies. The cake should also be distributed to the people who are at the marginal level, those who can't participate in the market. So the two-way interaction between the growth and the inequality was kind of taking shape, and then the last few decades there was a global awakening as the sustainability also is a dimension that need to be taken care of, because whatever was happening, it was not taken care of. It was just taking care of the environment. So. What we've seen is that when we rely on growth, then the sole focus of the corporates probably doesn't take care of the agriculture. If the same effort has to go in for the investment in the industry, and same effort has to go for the investment in agriculture. In agriculture, because of our poverty is very endemic in India, and it is more populated amongst the rural areas. So the focus also shifted slightly from the agriculture to the industry. So that is why we've not been able to so much succeed in alleviating poverty. But sustainability as an additional facet, we have seen how around the globe we have seen that especially the goal that the United Nations has set, the sustainability goals. Uh, if we rely on the emotionless growth, if we rely on the spiritless growth, so those that spiritless growth doesn't take care of the environment. And we have seen, if you look at our human body is a harmony, is in harmony when everything is in balance. When anything happens with one part of the body, the total harmony breaks. That's true about the economy is true. That when the harmony is broken in the environment, if you're not sustainable, then look at what it can cause. We have seen the glaciers melting. We have seen how it will affect the raising of the levels of water in the rivers and the seas. How it will affect not only the developed countries, but also it will affect more the developing countries like India, where if there's a 1.5 rise in the temperature, many of the cities which are low lying will be inundated. There will be water all around, and fishing communities, especially who are marginalized communities, they will be at the receiving end. So, in essence, if we talk about sustainability, if we talk about inclusiveness, if we talk about growth, so all these three facets have to work in harmony. This is so as we go, because initially when we started growing, we never thought of sustainability as an issue. So as we go, we think that we become wiser that there are other issues too. It is not solely the per capita income growth that will be that will be savior for all ills. So the inequality, the sustainability, so that everything works in harmony. That will take the countries to a better and sustainable development model. We in India, we are focusing on being carbon neutral by 2070. We have made commitments at COP26 and 27, so that we are focusing more on the non-renewable energy, renewable energy sources, so that we move away from the oil and coal to do more on solar energy, to do more of nuclear energy, to do more of hydro power. So in this regard, there is a whole gamut of economic policies which is now shifting to these renewable energy sources. But India is a poor country. It doesn't have that much of resources that it can finance the transition. Transition is costly because when you rely on the technology as a solution, technology involves cost. And if you want to have, let's say, electric vehicles, it requires so much of lithium, it requires so much of lead, it requires so much of cobalt, it requires so much of solar panels. So the cost of production also increased. And if India is to remain competitive, then there is a cost involved. So who will fund those transitions India is making to become more sustainable? So poor country becoming more sustainable in alignment with the rest of the world. So how will India sustain? How will India cover its path? These are questions I believe which our panel members, some of them will tell us as to what is the way forward. How because they are thickly into this business, we are not thickly into these studies, but they are handling many projects. They are handling many programs where the funding goes. They are handling those. So let us hear from them as what is how these trinity of development, growth, and inequality, inclusiveness, and sustainability, how the trio is to be tackled through the schemes that many of our learned speakers are working on. And once again, on behalf of college community, I accord very warm welcome to our students, to our ex-students, who alumni who have come today, professors from Delhi University, Professor Chadha and others who are here with us, my colleagues, my teachers, colleagues, non-teaching, teaching, so who have come here to be part of it, so that when we go back, we are more informed, we are well informed as to how these issues, which are so important for any government, also important to the citizens too. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to invite Mr. Lavanya Prakash Jira, who is the keynote speaker of the day. Mr. Lavanya is working as a Commonwealth Regional Climate Finance Advisor of Commonwealth Secretariat. Prior to this, he was working as Manager Climate Finance in CPI Delhi office. He has worked as a sustainable finance consultant at UNDP, where he was leading in development of India's sustainable finance roadmap in association with the Ministry of Finance. Before this, he worked in the financial services sector for 10 years in various capacities in the private sector. He holds a master's in economics from Oxford University and is CFA charter holder and at the CFA Institute. Besides, he is a doctoral scholar at XLRI Junction. Welcome, Mr. Chenna.
Thank you, Professor Gill, and it's nice to be here. Good morning, everybody. The Honorable Principal of the District College of Commerce, distinguished speakers, faculty, participants, and dear students. I'm privileged to give an opening ceremony, particularly on the sustainable development. Thank you for inviting me. The most important point is that I'm very glad to know that a college of commerce is discussing about sustainable development. Most of the time, the business community they don't really care about sustainable development. I can see that in business schools also, in many business schools, when you talk about sustainability a few years back, they were shunning the idea of sustainability because it doesn't come under their financial statement. You will not see the income statement, cash flow, or balance sheet. You read all day, day out. So since it is important that the corporates and business houses play a very meaningful and important role in developing, particularly integrating sustainability in their business decision making. Because most of the capital, most of the money are with the corporates and business houses, not with the governments. The government will definitely do the job of a facilitator by designing policies and regulations as well for the corporates so that they can channelize their efforts, channelize their business strategies and capital in developing the society. Sustainable finance is becoming a fashionable word also. So the kind of attention it has gained, particularly after Corona-19, it it's tremendous. And it has good part, it has bad part also. The good part is that at least it is creating awareness among the market participants. Dr. Singh said that market is not really caring about the people who are vulnerable. So, which is important for the market because sometimes what happens that whenever the vulnerable people react, the market also gets destabilized also. When we're talking about sustainability, basically how we can bring into three things. One is that environment, second is society, and third is the governance aspect. Environment in the sense that when we're talking about whether we are we are able to bring sufficient amount of capital so that we can restore the environment because our environment is destroyed. And we'll discuss about that. Second is that what is the impact of finance on the society? Dr. Singh said, Dr. Gill said that whether it is creating a society where everybody is well off, in the sense that since the market is not able to develop everybody in the society, many people are lagging behind than others. So historically, if we see that the income inequality has increased actually, we can of course say that capitalism has brought prosperity to the society. We cannot deny that, but at the same time, a large section of the people they lag behind. So it is important to understand that how finance can play a role in developing everybody in the society. Number three is that the governance aspect of finance. We can hear news also how finance is mismanaged also. Okay, that's the three things I can say. But in this today I will discuss only about green finance or climate change because that's my forte. That's where I work. Before we are talking about green finance, let me give you some numbers. World Economic Forum they conduct survey every year, which are the important risk factors which are going to affect the society, the entire economy also. So they have identified five factors. Top four of the five risk factors are related to the environment. So in terms of materiality and in terms of likelihood of the event to happen in the next 10 years or so. So the survey said that failure to climate change mitigation. I discussed about that. Dr. Singh said, there is a necessity to mitigate the climate change risk because the amount of carbon or carbon equivalent gases we are emitting to the atmosphere and the earth will no more be inhabitable in the next 30 years or 40 years or so. That's the reason you might have heard we are talking about net zero. We are talking about limiting the temperature by 1.5 degrees industrialization. Second is climate change adaptation. It means that climate change will happen. We cannot stop that. There will be increase in temperature. There will be drought. There will be flood. We cannot stop that because we cannot reach net zero tomorrow or the next 10 years or next 20 years. It will take actually 30, 40 years to reach net zero. But by that time, the average temperature in the earth might increase by 2 degrees. So when we are talking about average temperature, it doesn't mean that we are simply increasing temperature 41 degree, 43 degree in Delhi. So we don't care about that. But the most important part is that volatility of the temperature. Sometimes the temperature will cross 50 degree or 52 degree, but in the winter season, we are witnessing temperature is continuously decreasing to -1 or 2 degree, which is not hard actually for a longer period of time. So I'll discuss about that. Then there is natural disaster extreme weather event. So this natural disaster extreme weather, it could be, this is attributed to climate change. So natural disaster, through the earth system, it is natural. We witness that. But the issue is that these extreme weather events are getting exaggerated in the sense that the frequency of extreme weather events have increased. Actually, if you see the flood event, the cyclone, the drought, its frequency, this kind of events frequency have increased significantly in the last 10 to 20 years or so. For example, in my home state at Odisha, so the cyclone which happens in once in 20 years, now I can witness the cyclone every year. For example, flood event in Mumbai, which happens only once in 10, 20 years, now we are witnessing every year. Okay, the sudden increase in temperature and in Delhi sometimes temperature is crossing 48 degrees. Okay, so it means that this kind of events are going to increase. The frequency of the events are going to increase. The intensity will also increase. and is going to affect the lives and livelihoods. The number three is biodiversity and ecosystem collapse. Okay, but that's also another important point World Economic Forum has identified. So I will focus on climate change mitigation and climate change adaptation. So when we are talking about climate change adaptation, let me say why are we discussing about that? What is the impact of climate change? One is that definitely temperature is increasing. Whenever the temperature is increasing, it is fatal. Fatal in the sense that people may die, particularly the people who are working outside. Okay, so they may die when the temperature touches at 54 degrees. And couple of days, I heard that in Pakistan, temperature touched 53, 54 degrees. Even I read in newspaper in Kerala, I mean, we are in the month of March, and they are saying that we are feeling that temperature has already touched 52, 53 degrees. Okay, that's the scenario. Okay, usually in summer, we will find temperature is so high. Particularly, it's dangerous for the people who are working outside. Who are the people? The people who are vulnerable. Okay, the people who are in the construction, who are driving, and people who are working in the agriculture field. They are vulnerable. So, can they work under the sun with the temperature it passes 54 degrees? So, not at all. I mean, we are lucky that we are working in the air conditioner room. I mean, people including me. So, we are working in the air conditioner room. So, we need to see that whether this kind of people they can cope. Then another critical point I was discussing with the professor also, you are discussing about agriculture, okay? Because agriculture is is highly exposed to climate change risk because it's also mentioned a couple of times in the Indian Economic Survey how climate change risk is going to affect agriculture. Agriculture production may decrease by 15 to 20%. Okay, that part the Economic Survey of 2017 and 2018 suggests. So we can imagine that whenever food production decreases by 5%, it creates so much of inflation in the economy of food prices. Now we're talking about agriculture productivity decreases by 15 to 18%. It's too much, particularly definitely for the consumer. And think about the farmer whose farming income is so low. We're talking about decreasing of agriculture productivity by so much. And also it may create food security issues in the country. Okay, there are a couple of research they have suggested that the wheat and maize production in North India may decrease by 20 to 30% in next 20 years or so because of increasing temperature also in India. So these are the numbers I have to say so that you can be you will appreciate the riskiness of climate change. Number two is that precipitation. What does it mean? It means that whenever there is rain, there is heavy rain, and whenever there is no rain at all. I was in Chennai 3 months back. There, the people are talking about either there is no water, water scarcity, or water is scaring us. Uh, so that's the situation. That's the whenever there is rain, it's heavy rain, and it is creating flood. And if it's not raining, it means that it's creating drought. So this kind of scenarios we are also living in. We need to think seriously. Then sea level rise. We are not because we are North India. We don't see know what is happening to the sea. So, but sea level rise is a very dangerous thing because most of the people around the world, 20% of people live within 100 kilometers of boundary from the sea. It means that if the sea level rise, so definitely it will destroy the cities and it will also affect the people who are living in the sea. For example, certain cities, including some cities here in India like Kolkata, Mumbai, and Chennai, there are certain forecasters who say that these cities, there is a possibility that it may submerge with sea in next 40, 50, or 60 years or so. So we may not see Marine Drive in Mumbai after 40, 50 years. So we may not see, we don't know unless Mukesh Ambani decides that okay, let's build a sea walls or so. Okay, just to protect his $2 billion of building. Okay, this is the joke. Then there is ocean acidification. It means that it is affecting ocean life also because we also there are a significant number of people who are also dependent on the ocean because ocean is actually consuming 80% of carbon emissions. The amount of carbon we emit to the atmosphere, out of that 80% of carbon is consumed by the ocean. So we are lucky that we have ocean who are accommodating so much of carbon. But it has already reached at the peak. So it means that the life of the people, life of the species who are living in the ocean, they are also in danger. Then the extreme fraud events which already discussed. So coming back to India, so India is one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change. So one World Bank research survey said that India's economy may decrease by 4.5%, economic growth by 4.5% per annum. So if we don't take adequate steps to mitigate these climate changes, so our economic growth in the long term will be how much? 5 to 6%, not more than that. Here we are talking about decrease in economic growth per annum by 4.5%. So it means that we can never be a developed countries in next 100 years or so. So we need to be careful about that. Then the point is that it is not only about the farmers, about the society or income, it is also affecting the financial system as well, as well as the corporate and the business houses. Because most of the students, since you are studying commerce, you join the corporate, chartered accountants, and CFO, and whatnot, as the investment banker also. You will always think about money, but we need to see that okay, climate change is affecting the businesses also. Okay, if it is affecting the businesses, definitely it is a risk for the lenders, for the bankers, for banks, commercial banks, or non-banking financial companies, or could be institutional investors like venture fund, insurance companies. Some of you may be going to manage those funds in the future. So think about that okay, it is going to affect the equity risk, the credit risk, liquidity risk also. So the critical point is that how can we mitigate? How can we mitigate this climate change? It means that we need to limit the temperature income as per IPCC by 1.5 degrees since industrialization. Okay, now the temperature has already increased by 1.1 degree, 1.2, 1.2 degree on an average. Okay, if you see 1.1 degree, nothing. Okay, so if my room temperature decreases now, I think it is 25 degree. If it increases to 26 degree, it doesn't matter to us. Okay, but what matters is that if the volatility increases too much, so that's the point. So we need to limit the temperature by 1.5 degrees since industrialization by 2050. Okay, that's the target of IPCC. Otherwise, the Earth will cross the limit, which it will be very difficult for the humanity to survive in the society. But the question is that how can we do that? Okay, let's discuss about the carbon emission. Globally, we emit around 45 to 50 gigaton of carbon emission. Okay, that's the total amount we emit to the atmosphere. The important point is that the carbon stays in the atmosphere for a long, long time. So it stays from 100 years to 10,000 years. Okay, so this is the amount of, this. It means that it's extremely difficult for the atmosphere to remove those carbon or carbon equivalent gases like nitrous oxide or methane or so. So it stays in the atmosphere a long time unless we found out technologies. Scientists are also investing or also studying. There are some technologies not currently available. There are very very early stage which can remove carbon from the atmosphere. So, but we are it will take 50 years at least to reach that stage. So we are talking about 45, 50 ton of gigaton of carbon emission to the atmosphere, and India is contributing how much? Around 3.1, 3.2 gigaton. And all the time, if you read the newspaper, in the Western media in particular, you will say that India is the third largest emitter. Okay, but if you see our per capita income, we are less. United States 16 times bigger than us. Okay, European Union probably 4 to 5 times higher than us. So this is not a comparative thing. Like we keep on saying about sustainable development. At the same time, our energy access is not so that good. So we cannot say that okay, let's shut down all the coal plants today. That's not possible. Okay, so that's not possible. We can understand that there is the issue of climate change, and coal plant is one of the reasons which is causing climate change because coal generation is very very carbon intensive. But I'm integrating with sustainable development because it is also the argument of government of India because there are millions of lives which are dependent on coal, both on particularly for unskilled worker. If you go to any coal mine, including coal mines in my home state, you will see that the number of people who are dependent on coal for their life and livelihoods. It's huge. So you cannot say these workers to stop working. You cannot do that. So you have to skill those people. You have to give time and space and financial resources. so that they can move from coal to non-coal. Secondly, if they are extremely technical challenging also to move to renewable energy overnight. It will take a long period of time because most renewable energy is intermittent and many segments in the renewable energy sector are not really commercially viable. We cannot really increase the energy tariff for sure. So the point is that we need to decarbonize. It means that we need to decarbonize the electricity system. Currently, electricity system probably contributing around 40-45% of carbon emission. Then second is the industry. Industry in the sense that cement, steel and iron, airlines, this kind of industries, they are contributing around 20-25%. Then agriculture also. Agriculture is highly carbon intensive. We don't realize that it is contributing around 15 to 20% of carbon emission. But in a developing country like India, we cannot do that in the agriculture sector because mostly our farmers, they are not skillful enough to follow the practices which will help them in reducing carbon emission from agriculture. So there are some technology available, there are some practices, but it will take a long period of time actually to ask farmers to follow certain agriculture practices. Because agriculture has been there since humanity for the last 100,000 years. So we farmers say, okay, we know the best. Okay, don't ask me what to do. So you need to be very careful about how you can pursue farmers. And some of the technology are also not commercially viable. So you need to provide grants also. Then the essential point is that capital. We need a huge amount of capital. Globally, so the IPCC report says that we need around $4 to $5 trillion of capital. Actually, it's a huge amount of money to low carbon technology to reach net zero. $4 to $5 trillion capital. It's crazy. India's economic size is 8 trillion. The global economic size is could be I think 75-80 trillion. So we cannot mobilize all the capital to climate change. Okay, we can definitely mobilize this percentage of capital to climate change. Okay, similarly, if I talk about India, how much capital India needs, government of India said that okay, we will reach net zero like say by 2070. There are some research, for example, McKinsey says we need 12 trillion, 12 to 13 trillion dollar of capital in next 50 years or so. UBS says 20 trillion, we don't know how much capital we need. But it shows that we need a huge amount of capital, maybe 300-400 billion dollar of capital per year to really reach net zero by 2017. Currently, how much we are mobilizing? Today, 30 billion or so, 30 to 40 billion or so. This is the amount of capital we are mobilizing. And if you see that what is the India's financial savings rate is only 25 to 30%. So half of the financial savings are actually stays at house. It's not used. It stays at house. We keep on purchasing gold all the time. That's the reason gold is rising, shooting up. Or we invest in real estate. We buy houses. Okay. So most of the money are not going. Actually, 40 to 50% of savings, India's savings, go to intermediary, the financial intermediary, like banks or institutional investors, which will be used in creating assets, in creating real assets also. So it means that we are not able to mobilize the amount of capital which is necessary to move to the green economy. But at the same time, if we see that the financial system, like Dr. Singh said, that are they thinking about sustainability? Because that's not true. For example, global financial crisis in 2007 or 2008, if you see that all the theories, all the methodologies, or tools, the mechanisms they have developed, all based on some evidence, it failed actually. All the efficient theories we are studying in our corporate finance or financial management, it failed significantly in 2007 and 2008 financial crisis. But most importantly, these financial theories are not really concerned about the society, about the climate change, because most of the data points are built on historical basis. So it's not going to help us. So that's one of the reasons, since financial market are not really integrating climate change risk in their financial decision making, we are not able to mobilize so much of capital. Number two is that about the disclosure, whether the corporates are really disclosing the kind of risk they are exposed to, not really, because other investors, for example, if you are saving your money in a bank or if you are saving your money in a mutual fund or pension funds, do you know what kind of risk you are exposed to? I mean, very few people know. Otherwise, nobody would have deposited money in which bank in SBB. Okay, so which collapsed recently last week. Okay, so nobody has. I mean, the kind of risk they were exposed to. So they are not really disclosing the climate change related risk in their financial statement. Then there is also knowledge and technical gap, and many technology at a very startup stage, because what IPCC says that half of the technology which will help us to limit our temperature by 1.5 degree is not commercially used yet. It means that those technology at a very early stage, and all of these technology are not commercially viable. So it means that, but they need capital, otherwise how they can move ahead. Okay, but unfortunately, most of the commercial financiers, they don't really invest in startup technology unless you are a private equity player or a venture capitalist. Then there is lack of bankable projects. I said many times that okay, so there are not enough projects which are bankable. For example, if you are talking about smart agriculture practices in agriculture sector, these are not bankable. Okay, you cannot ask a bank, commercial banks, to provide capital to the agriculture sector, to the farmers. It doesn't happen. But what we need to do, definitely we need to design policies and regulation which will help to mobilize capital for climate change mitigation. So it could be in the form of grants. Definitely, Government of India has come out with several policy measures that will help many sectors, including renewable energy, including electric mobility, for sure. Then there is conceptual capital available, but the amount of conceptual capital is currently going to the to climate actions is not enough. Okay, so there is also need of financial regulation. For example, the financial regulators like SEBI, Reserve Bank of India, pension fund regulators, and infra regulators, they need to regulate institutions, particularly asking the institutions whether they are considering climate change risk, because the climate change risks are going to hit everybody, including the investors in the financial sector. So they need to see that whether the depositors' money or the policymakers' money or as a saving community, our money is safe. It's their job. So they have also started instructing to this kind of institutions to act very quickly. Similarly, the private actors, could be banks, could be pension funds, they have also coming out new guidelines, innovative financial mechanism, there is stewardship practices also. And some of the financial institutions also, they have also declared net zero. I mean, not in India, for example, HDFC Bank is saying that we will achieve net zero by 2035. But it's a big question mark how they are going to achieve. I don't understand that how HDFC going to achieve, because they are saying, okay, all our direct operation will achieve. It means that we will make our direct operation. What about their lendings which is there in the portfolio? And another important point is that international climate finance, because there is so much of pressure from the Western communities on India, on all the developing countries in India, that okay, you need to act very quickly. But the important point is that the commitment made by international institutions like all the developed countries, they said that okay, we'll provide you $100 billion of capital for climate finance every year to all the developing countries to support their climate actions. But if you see the amount of capital, it's very small. Okay, it's around 70 to 80 billion, and there is also a question mark whether this is a support or it's a commercial capital. For example, Government of India many times denies that the amount of capital they are claiming they have provided is rightly is not true. Okay, so many of the students, since you are going to join corporates, I hope that you are going to integrate climate science in your corporate planning, in your financial decision making, which will help in saving the earth. And if you are joining the government, I hope that you are going to design policy and regulation which will help climate mitigating sectors, as well as most importantly penalizing those businesses which are emitting too much carbon. With this, I conclude my address. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jana. Now we have our chief guest, Dr. Hen Ola Demira. He is the country director, head of South Asia Hub, and IFAD stands for International Fund for Agricultural Development. And for students, this is IFA is running 32 projects in India with a total project cost of about US 3,867 million US dollars. And IFA is working more than 30 years in India, and it is working at the grassroots level, targeting the poorest and the marginal farmers. So I think more we have to learn from Dr. Oleg.
Thank you so much, Professor Bill and Dr. Singh, for inviting me today. I'm really feeling very, very honored, and I want to also commend you for gathering such a gender balanced group. I'm really pleased because normally I speak in front of mainly men and there's maybe a few women somewhere, and even sometimes I criticize our partners for being so male driven, and then I see my own team is also male driven. So it's really refreshing. These days. So yeah, distinguished audience, dear faculty, dear students, dear guest professors, dear esteemed speakers on this panel. Good morning, and I'm really happy to be here. So I'll tell you a little bit about IPAD's work, but first of all, maybe just to remind ourselves where we are. The world is currently in a number of crises. We have all of us remember the COVID, then we have the Ukraine crisis, we have climate change. We have a world that is, some people talk about a concept that is called VUCA. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's about volatility. You talked about the climate volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Right? That's the context in which this world is currently functioning. So we can't be certain about anything. And the big question is, of course, how do we respond to this? Are we continuing to respond crisis after crisis, or do we have really opportunities to invest in structural changes that enable us to face a more sustainable future? So I'm really welcoming the topic of today. But maybe a few words. You've already mentioned what. So International Fund for Agricultural Development is the only United Nations agency, the specialized agency of the UN system, that is also an international financial institution. So we are funding government programs, we are funding sovereign investments, and if you look at the UN website, you will see that most of the financial money comes through IPAD actually. So we are really, in terms of investment, quite the largest, maybe the least visible, because we're working really exclusively through the governments, and so we're not as good branded as some of our other colleagues. But anyway, and we have also quite a small team compared to other universities. But we are exclusively focused on rural poverty, or let's say rural development, and particularly with a strong focus on reduction of rural poverty, and of course through agriculture, through rural development and conservation. We are branding ourselves with, we are the ones who are going where nobody else goes, right? Like we're going to the most remote areas, working on the most difficult areas. That's our mandate. Our members who are financing the institution expect us to really target, first of all, have a very strong targeting on those populations that are usually left out and are the most remote, the most vulnerable, challenging to work with. What does it mean in the context of India? Well, we're working a lot with scheduled tribes, scheduled castes in very remote areas, often from the state capital. I was in Odisha, the closest location that I could visit from our project sites was like 5 hours from Bhubaneswar. So it is really remote areas, and very often these people are farming on less than half a hectare of land, so they have no access to technology, very limited access to finance, to markets, and so on. So it's quite a challenge, quite a challenge. So So IFAD invests in these rural people because it is clear that the road to a resilient future runs through the rural population. And it is really the support to the small-scale farmers where we have to work on models to link these farmers to markets. It's like a chicken and egg situation. We don't want them to be just recipients of aid, right? It's about development. We want to make them sustainable. We want them to prosper. Very often, we talk about resilience and all these means of resilience. Let's say insurance, but we've talked about it before the session. If you want to insure somebody, this person has to have. We have to have a value to insure something. No insurance would insure my rusty bicycle with the garden that was a flat tire. Value. You need value first in order to make all these fancy things work. So in the end, it comes down very much to productivity. Right? Like if the farmers are not productive, it is very difficult to include them into a development. They will not sell anything, so they will just depend on basically their old traditional subsistence way of living. And this comes with a very high degree of vulnerability. So, but it's complex. It's not just giving them better technology. They go more and they go all of a sudden productive. I mean, accessing markets for smallholders means first of all they need institutions, right? And they need to be able to aggregate, to be able to work in the markets. Let me give you an example of our work in Interact, where we have helped 6.5 lakh rural households to increase their incomes. More than half of the families that we've reached reported that their incomes doubled in many cases, or they at least increased by half. So how do we do this? First of all, helping these farmers to build livelihood collectives. Okay, so it's about institutional development so that they can really aggregate their economic transactions and access markets, access finance, and access technology. So I don't entirely agree that farmers are not bankable. Farmers can be bankable, but by default they are not. I agree with that one. But we have to make them bankable. That's one of the big tasks. So basically bringing them together helps them to access markets and so on. It has to come all at the same time, right? Like it's like a chicken and egg situation. They don't have surplus, they don't reach a market. They don't have a market, they don't have finance to invest in their productivity and generate a surplus. So there's really this comprehensive nature that we have to appreciate and that work with the farmers. So and their own terms, because in the end, farmers are private sector. They're not government employees. You cannot just tell them grow this or grow that. The decision remains to them. And if they fail, they're taking the consequences. They're going hungry. Their families are going hungry. Farmers are managing risks every day, risks that I have no clue about. We're pretty much living a very safe life. Farmers typically don't enjoy the safe life. So we have to make all this work in a very participatory manner so that the farmers really understand what decisions they are going to make and why, and so that they can trade off potential gains, risks, and all of this. So it's quite a complex thing that we expect farmers to do actually in their development path. And it's quite a complex thing to develop a support model around the areas of so local communities, also what we do in the project is help local communities to develop institutions that manage their natural resources. Okay, so that there is in the community recognition of the limited natural resources and what is required to optimize their use for agriculture, for other activities. For instance, in some of the hilly environments, obviously, we can still see shifting cultivation. People are just, slash and burn. They slash off wood and put their farms, enjoy the productivity for a couple of years, and then when the productivity goes down, they let the forest recover. We want to help them move out of this because the system works very well and there's very low population density. So areas have enough time to recover, but nowadays basically the population densities are so high that this is becoming very unsustainable. activity is actually going down in the system. So, and obviously that's, when photosynthesis is the only way to fixate carbon from the atmosphere, currently the only viable way. So the more we can support woodlands to be intact, the better, I think, for the planet. Anyway, I'm diverting. I'm sorry. So anyway, we are supporting all kind of sustainable land use patterns from agroforestry. I think crop diversification always plays an important role for smallholders. Right? Like these are not like the big enterprises that use large tractors and so on that benefit from the monoculture. We're talking about small-scale farmers, and they do very well by diversifying and also hedging basically their options and hedging their risks. Using climate-smart technologies and sustainable water management. But IFAD also believes in long-term development, and you know, I can tell you that most of the projects that we're supporting are taking like at least 7-8 years. The institutions need to develop. As you know, agriculture is an annual activity, so if you don't get it right this year, the season is gone next year, and you have to wait for the next year. So unfortunately, we can't iterate at the speed as let's say technology can many iterations test and then doing the work. So after this first phase of intervention, now we've just launched the Rural Enterprises Project in Uttarakhand, which is basically scaling up the results of the previous phase, and that is transforming now livelihood collectives into really clusters, village level clusters, so that we get more of a critical mass and that we can generate industrial volumes and link these farmers to larger markets. So it is possible over time to really, build this critical mass to allow also maybe more communities to participate in markets in the so basically, what this has shown us is it is possible, right? Like it's possible with time. Another quick example that I want to quickly give you is tribal women in Himachal Pradesh, where we have in 2017 started a very small program or a small project based on their demand on revival of millets, Kodo and Kurti. Two minor millet varieties in very remote places. They are very drought resistant, they draw less water, so it's a traditional dryland crop. They are nutritious. But the challenge was really how to make it as a driver for income generation. Right? We didn't want to just help these women to feed themselves and their families, but we wanted to also help them make money. So basically, again, we supported them to develop self-help groups, merge these self-help groups to village level clusters, and then to the federation. There were some 1,500 women-headed households that were participating in this pilot. They have agreed to give 20 kilograms from their yield in millets to the federation. And I think this is really important because this made them own the federation. You know, it's not a federation that somebody else is paying. Because if somebody else is paying, it doesn't belong to them. Only what you pay for belongs to the region. Right? That's kind of a really important principle, I think. And this also ensures these women to have sustainability. So we helped them to develop this system, and then you've all heard about PPPs, public-private partnerships. Well, IFAD is talking about PPPs, public-private producer partnerships. So we brought the producers into the game, and basically with the private sector mobilizing finance, with and buying the crops, with government providing, of course, technical support and so on, with the farmers planning accordingly with the other partners. These women were able to increase their salaries, not their salaries, their incomes by about 5 times, from 1,800 rupees to 9,200 rupees between 2014 and 2019. Okay, and based on the success, the number of farmers has grown, has it's about tenfold in 2019 from the data I have. And they went from about 750 to 15,000 acres in cultivation of these vineyards. So you can see that once you have a successful example, it is also easy to follow and if there's a market, they can easily adopt. So just to summarize quickly, my examples were really just show how complex it is, but also to give us some hope that it is possible to actually have inclusive and sustainable development. You know, India has, and now I'm going a little bit more general. I hope I'm not wasting it. I should probably round up. Yes, okay. Very quickly, allow me to do this very quickly. I mean, in India, agriculture is very much seen as a social business, right? It's more of a social thing. And I think some of the previous speakers said, I mean, Dr. Singh mentioned redistributed policies, and I think it was mentioned that the farmers are not bankable. Well, you know, I think we have to really make the balance. We have to really restate or reset agriculture as a business. And although it may sound a little counterintuitive to some people may say, oh no, farmers cannot survive in the market, or the poor farmers and so on. I think it would be more fair to them to give them a real chance. Establish a level playing field for them, support them on the institutions, support them with public investments in public goods that reduce their transaction costs and let them compete. And I believe they would do quite well, actually. Because 70–85% of the farmers are actually smallholder farmers. So the large part are already smallholder farmers. And I think they can become very, very competitive. But we have to make the markets work for them, you know, and I think we have to focus our support to the agriculture sector very much on the public goods. Really invest in public goods. Look, the public sector is in charge of the public goods. Well, like we are supposed to protect the commons. That's what the private sector will not do. That's the externalities that the private sector. Why would any company finances? It's a competitive disadvantage if they do so. So these are the things the public sector has. But everything else, the private goods, the private sector can copy. And farmers can be very valuable. Last thing, if we want to really have a sustainable, inclusive future, I think we all have to do our little part. You know, we sometimes look at it as, you know, we had the food system summit in Rome about 2 years ago, or 2021. And the summit agreed, all the world leaders agreed to the United Nations, with the Agriculture Organization, we need a food systems transformation, right? But who can really transform food systems? Are the consumers? You know? We are the ones paying for food systems. When we are making the choices and buy rice instead of millet, we are buying, you know, Algorand's lunch in the evening instead of something, you know, we are making our choices. And I think, you know, I have a daughter, she's 4 years old. I agree, she may be in the Indian context considered for a kid that has many choices. But I mean, she comes, you know, for her, she would look at every label before she consumes the product. She wants to make sure that it's sustainably produced, that it is responsibly, that it's fair trade, all of these things, right? And in addition, she's looking at nutrition. So, and I think this is growing also in India. I mean, with rising incomes, people have choices in terms of their food choices, and I want to urge all of us to make these choices and advertise and let others know that these choices are important. Because in the end, it's not the politicians, it's not the farmers, it's all driven by the consumption choices that we make. Thank you so much.
Now we have among us most awaited Professor Balram Pandit. He is the Dean of Colleges, everybody knows, and Also, he's the director of the campus of open learning at the University of Delhi. And more so that he has his MPhil in environmental science. So that's something commendable that he belongs to environmental science. And the topic is that we have invited him here for his remarks. And Professor Pani has also published about 50 research articles in reputed journals and books. And Professor Pani has been recognized for his contributions in the education sector and has been awarded the most promising innovator award. So thank you, Mr. Pani, for being here. And I will quickly invite Gobind, our alumni, to just come on the stage and facilitate. Our alumni are doing very good, and it is most of the time that they facilitate us, but this is the time that we also need to, just facilitate them very quickly. I would like Adesh Jain and, could be just to stand a bit, give them a big round of applause for being always there, being always supportive. Sunita, I also got something here. Then I also was looking for Balvijay Singh. He's still there. Okay, so he just left. So thank you so much, alumni, for helping us always. Thank you so much. Now I'm quickly inviting Professor Pani for his remarks.
Namaskar, good morning to you all. Chief guest of the day, Dr. Honorable Professor Oz Gilji, Professor Jatinder Singh, Mr. Lavanya Prakash Jaina ji, Mr. Atul Bagai ji, Mr. Amitav Bair ji, Mr. Yan Rahul Governor, and professors and my dear colleagues and student friends. And it is all about the 6th Biennial International Convention, India on the Path to Sustainable and Inclusive Development. Whether it is the myth or reality, it is reality. To me, it is not myth, it is reality. So first of all, I congratulate you that our Delhi University is celebrating its centenary. That though India is also celebrating its 75th Independence Day, Azadi Ka Amrit, followed by Amrit Ka. And this year also, India has got the opportunity to preside over the G20. So these are all these things are coming. It is reality. So because in the G20, the theme is that Vasundhaiva Kutumbakam, one family, one earth, one future. To just see nowadays, because of the advanced technology, and because of this advanced technology, this whole world is becoming smart. Earlier it was saying that when it is a statement, you can say it is a 10,000 years back, statement has appeared. But right now, it is a reality. Because of the advanced technology, through the internet system, we can connect the whole world in few minutes. How is it possible? It is because of the technology. Because at that time we have not developed that technology, we would not contact with the whole world. But right now, it is the case. So whenever you will call about the sustainability, by definition, because I'm from environmental science background, when the word is called sustainability, sustainability means you will have to have potential growth without damaging anything else. If you have, if there is any deleterious effect to your action that can be minimized. So right now, that sustainable means if that sustainable is serious, right now the technology is already developed. We have already developed because earlier in the Niti Aayog system, that is, it is said that India was the developing country, but right now we have already developed. In almost all the technologies, we have achieved many things. Now we are progressing. Now the bright brains, bright minds of the youngsters, they are doing very brilliant. They are doing wonders. There is no doubt at all. And whenever you will call that inclusive development, right now you are saying that inclusive development, you will have to include everyone. Because starting from the whether it is a living organism or non-living things, you are including everything. Inclusive development means development of everyone, development of every sector, development of every country. So that is the inclusive. We are including every way, from starting from the microorganism to macroorganism, and wherever it is possible, we are trying to do so. Right now, the climate change, it is talking about the climate change. Who else? Climate change, it is not a regional problem, it is the global problem because India is taking the lead role to do all these things. So right now the technology is developing, and similarly, this is the environmental science background or chemistry. Earlier it was the green chemistry, but right now, green word it has been coined in everywhere. Whether it is the economics, and since your department is the common department, so you are also taking that term, it is the green economics. Green economics, it is term, means you will have to invest your money in green substances like green energy, zero waste technology, and you have to give some, you will have to invest in such a manner so that the technology will be developed to control all these things which is very deleterious effect to the mankind. So therefore, this economics is whenever means in economics one term is used, mindless growth. Mindless growth is not needed. Means yes, growth is needed. It is the mindful growth. Means whenever you will do something, you will do invest something somewhere else. That should be the growth will should come, and that too not having a bad effect on others. So therefore, it is the mindful growth, and you will have to invest in such a manner so that it will not have any other impact or side effect to any organization or any other system. So whenever we are talking about this system, is the open and closed system. Now we have the open system. In the open system, you can exchange everything. The technology can be exchanged. So whole world can be united, and the problems, whichever is the global problems, global problems can be overcome. So after all, this is the sustainable development. It is only possible only when there is the inclusive development. If it is not an inclusive development, if you will take the spatial ones in a particular sector, then definitely other sector will be damaged. So whenever it will the inclusive means you have well designed means when I have seen this topic, means I just say that sustainable and inclusive development these are the side by side. So means I am from the science background, but still then you have called me. So I'm thankful to you all, and actually I beg my apologies because I am late because I had some other priority. So I can later again I say good morning and thank you all.
Thank you, Professor Pani. The soft side of Professor Pani is that he's very vivacious, very humble, and always smiling. And he apologizes smilingly too. But thank you, sir, for being here. So I think we go ahead with our next guest of honor. He's Mr. Amitabh Mehta. He's the CEO of Oxfam India and the former executive director of the National Foundation for India. He is the vice chair of civics, convener of the National Social Watch Coalition, and board member of the Global Fund for Community Foundations. I welcome Ms. Ratna Banerjee.
So, thank you for inviting me, and I'm really delighted to be here at the Vimarsh of SCC. Uh, so, yeah, that's easier. I think that's easier. Yes, yes, yeah. The acronym is probably more difficult, but I am really delighted to be here, and I'm mindful of the time, so I'm going to be almost telegraphing in what I want to say. But let me just start by congratulating you for also the, we've already got a couple of appreciations, including the diversity in the room. But let me also congratulate you for the topic that you've chosen. It is in some ways trying to address uh, a very fundamental question that confronts all of us. And it is important to investigate and further probe this question. So when the way you framed it, myth or reality, I think it's bang on. And thank you for doing it. I'm very happy you've done that. So as I said, I'm going to be brief. I had a 2-hour presentation. Uh, and I've been told that I should do it in 7-8 minutes. I'll do that in 7 minutes. Let me start by saying that if you're going to get into this topic and engage with it, we need certain parameters to evaluate, is this myth or reality? And I'm going to talk of 2 parameters, and both are widely accepted. So let's start with that. The first one is probably the most ambitious global compact that the world has seen, and that's the Sustainable Development Goals. There's nothing more ambitious than this, and there's nothing which has got greater uh, political buy-in from across the world. In fact, I was in New York in the UN room when our Prime Minister, along with almost 40, 50 other heads, signed on to the Sustainable Development Goals. The moment was absolutely electric. It started with a song by Shakira, moved on to Hope addressing the event, and then several heads of the states spoke. And I think it's the first time where we've actually been able to marry economic, social, and environment. So if you look at the history of global compacts, we have always been unidimensional. But this is the first time you have all three, social, economic, and environment, coming together. And that really gives you a very different perspective to what sustainable development goals is. So that's one. That's one North Star that I often use. And that's very modern. It's just happened in 2015. The second, and I think for all of us here, one of the best North Stars is our Constitution. And in our Constitution, particularly going to the preamble. If you just pick those 4 words, freedom, equality, fraternity, and justice. That, I think itself, I would say even SDGs are pretty much within the preamble of our Constitution, but these are the 2 North Stars that I want to use for all of us, hopefully through the day. We'll keep coming back to these North Stars, because that's ultimately how we can actually get into a good conversation. I would just say, my request to the group, and particularly to an academic group, would be to not juxtapose the myth and reality. As a headline, it looks good, but it's both part myth and part reality. So I would actually say that what we've achieved post 1947 is remarkable. In 1947, we were the beacon of hope for the post-colonial world, for the global south, from Africa to Latin America. India was inspiring the world. And if you look at the development indicators, I think it's amazing. Sometimes by our current problems, we get bogged down. But just look at, say, the maternal mortality, child mortality in 1947, or literacy rate in 47, and look at it now. It's a phenomenal change. In 75 years journey, we've achieved enormous development. So just kudos to everybody who's worked. It's generation after generation which has worked on it. And I think we need to celebrate that. However, once we so let's keep celebrating. But as academics, as people who want to make the world better, it's our job also to then find where the profits will be and how do we resolve it. So I'm going to start off, as you know, Oxfam does this inequality report every year. During Davos, we get the front pages globally and in India. So I'm going to just focus on inequality. And given that the time is so short, I will just kind of highlight what's happening with inequality. And I'll talk of 3 or 4 dimensions of inequality. Because very often these days, inequality is getting framed within the economic parameters, which is very critical, but there are some other aspects to it. And let me just start with that. Our report this year said that in this country, only 21 people have more wealth than 700 million. So just 21 people, you can get them in a minibus and they'll have more wealth than 50% of Indian population. And this figure, you can challenge our report, but it is pretty much everybody is more or less agreed with the levels of inequality. The levels of inequality, as in both my all the previous speakers have actually talked about the inequality, and it's become absolutely obscene. It's unacceptable the levels of inequality that we see. The top 1% hold 40% of India. The bottom 50% of the Indian population, that's 70 crore, holds only 3% of it. And this is a global phenomenon. This is not sustainable. To my analysis, the kind of policies the World Bank and the IMF pushed in the 80s are responsible for this inequality, but even they are now saying that these levels of inequality are unsustainable. And every report, including the World Economic Forum, flags inequality as one of the biggest threats. If you look at the Indian political spectrum, from Mohan Bhagwat of the RSS to Sitaram Yechury of CPM, everybody is saying inequality is not acceptable, these levels of inequality. And I do worry that if you have these levels of inequality, we are going towards social and political determinism, and we need to immediately address this. So that's economic inequality, and we can get into a discussion. And given what you focus on your college, I'm sure you'll look at this question. The second I just wanted to bring in, because very often inequality stops here. In this country, in the 2011 census, and we are still waiting for the 21 census to happen. Hopefully, it happens soon now. Because of COVID, we could not do it. In the 2011 census, we heard a heart-wrenching data. For the 0 to 6 age group, the gender sex ratio in this country is 916 girls for 1,000 boys. You speak to doctors, if nature has its way, then it would be 955 to 960 girls per 1,000 boys. Girls are lesser than boys, but they would be only 955 to 60. So the decline from 955 to that 960 in every 1,000 of almost 40 girls is sex-selective abortions that we've done. It's a serious matter of child sex ratio. And that we need to really address. And I just wanted to bring in the gender dimension of it. That inequality cannot be understood only if you're looking at economic inequality. We need to also get into gender equality. The third that I just wanted to bring in, that because we are talking of inclusive development, this is again for me at least, I really feel very, very pain. In 2017, there's something called a group called Safai Karmachari. They have come up with the data that just in the national capital region, every month there were 12 to 14 workers who died cleaning sewage, which is essentially, let me, my apologies, but it's cleaning shit. they have to go inside and they do that. And they keep dying. And it's in the national capital region. The government has acknowledged it, it's trying hard to change it, but every month just in the national capital. And this is 2017 data. I've forgotten the government is also now in the parliament given some data. But it's a problem that we confront every day we read in the newspaper. So the levels of economic inequality becoming obscene. Gender, at the moment, we've made huge gains in many ways. But look at just the 0 to 6 child sex ratio. And we even have later data, child sex ratio at birth, which is still not promising. So once we get the 21, my sense is it's not going to be very promising. And what we are essentially looking at, that caste becomes a factor of people dying with absolutely no treatment. So at this juncture, I think it's absolutely critical for us to take a pause and start looking at how do we ensure a gender just and inclusive, which includes every community. So that's really the challenge. I had a few thoughts, but I know that my time is over. But let me just say one thing. That and that's going to be an interesting conversation. I love the panel. Thank you for also getting a very diverse panel in this. There's already huge amount of overlap, but some differences also of how we're looking at that things. I personally feel, and Professor Singh I think said that very well, that a market fundamentalist approach will not work. An obsession with GDP is not going to work. We need to fundamentally change what is the goal of human civilization. And there's some ideas, just to say, just Bhutan, and people say it's a small country. Yes, it's a small country, but Human Development Index and Happiness Index. Madhya Pradesh government has started that, which is interesting. They're also talking about happiness index. Can we move from GDP to human development or happiness index? The fantastic Prime Minister of New Zealand has started a wellness budget. So there are ways, there are paradigms where just economic wealth is not the parameter of success. And it is a more inclusive human development and happiness which can be our guiding light. So all the best for your day of
Thank you, Mr. Kamal. I promise you that we are going to invite you to our college for a 2-hour session. As you said that, we're prepared for that. But then for that, you will have to come down to Bikampura, our college. And you await our invitation. Very quickly, we're going to do that. Okay, the last speaker of the day is Mr. Yan Davalov. He is the Chief Operating Officer of Volkswagen Group Technology Solutions India. And he is a graduate of Squadra Auto University. And in addition to his professional career, Davalov is actively involved in several non-profit projects and support underprivileged societies and individuals around the world. I'm inviting you for a very quick.
Hello. So it's really a right challenge to be off the middle of so excellent speakers. But everything has been already said. So let me start from here and answer the question. So is it myth or reality? It is reality. I'm honored to live last 4 years in India, and as I grow in the Polish to Canada. So to say, 30 years ago, we started our transformation. Then we were forced to look at the situation what people like India 75 years ago. But if I compare, let's say, the growth of my country, which is Czech Republic, 10 million people, half of them by years, with what India has achieved over the last 75 years. And in the last 4 years, what I've seen now, you are really developing great technologies, chemicals, industries. You are really feeding the world. So it is the reality. This is everywhere. So with that, let me present something about the Volkswagen, the big bad global corporate. I'm representing here somehow 700,000 employees, which is with the families, 3 million people, which is with the second level of our suppliers, additional 20 million people, and the suppliers of the suppliers, it represents more than 50 million people. And this is the chain of, not influence, but now with the ESG, the chain of responsibility. And therefore I'm so happy to be here today with the university in the standards, because the professors, yes, you can influence and you are influencing the future generation. And you students, you are coming in your assignments to the government, to the corporate, and what you bring at the beginning of your studies, so you are influencing and pushing further development. So means I can stay paralyzed, oh, the global warming, I cannot do anything. And by the way, 1.5 degrees of the heating means 7 to 8 degrees on the north or polar, which means really the serious meltdown of the polar ice. This is flooding here in India. I saw the flooding in Europe. So when there is no sunlight, and even the CEO of the company, of our company, and he's not having the rocket to go to the Mars. Therefore, our company and the Volkswagen is changing the world. So let me share with you some. So please then I will just make the signal and just press the button. The next one. So there are 2 Volkswagens in India. So I'm representing the first smaller one, which is which is just in brackets 4,000 people, because we are the IT company. We are located in Pune, Bengaluru, and Gurgaon. And we are serving across the globe all the companies, which is more than 350 of the Volkswagen. So captive business, more and more, and nothing outside. There is a plant in Chakan in Aurangabad, which is producing Volkswagen, Skoda, Audi, Virtus, Usha. So, and we are all part of the. So, having said that, what does it mean for the India? What does it mean for the? Are we able to go at the beginning of the presentation, please? Because it's just the end. Yeah, so this I have said, this I have said. Next one, please. Next. Group, 700,000 employees, 300 billion euro revenue, 13 billion euro profit. This all profit now goes into the transformation. Our commitment on these expenditure, our commitment in the sustainability, and I as a manager and each and every of our employees is having 1/3 of our bonus if we make the profit dependent on the ESG. And ESG means environment, social, governance, inclusion. And simply there is no bonus for anyone. Means CEO down to last employee if we don't deliver this. Last 100 years, next page please. Last 100 years, the automotive industry was representing one of the biggest contributors to the carbon pollution. And by the way, the Volkswagen is not only Audi, Volkswagen, Porsche. This is also the MAN. This is the company building the engines for the ships. So engines of size of this unit. One of the biggest pollutions contributors of the Volkswagen on the road. So therefore, we committed, and that is to say our commitment, to become 2040 carbon neutral. I heard from my first speakers, what does it mean, how we will achieve it? So So now with our products, we are changing from the classical ICE, which is the petrol or diesel engine, to the electric engines. But all of our production sites are equipped with the circular economy. What we consume and input as electricity, it comes from the recycled electricity. So now, for example, last year we installed the biggest solar power plant in India for the assembly plant here in the Chakan. Already components fabrics, yes, so engines and gear axis in the Volkswagen, they are fully carbon neutral in the production. And how, for example, Porsche can achieve the full carbon neutrality, including the life cycle of the car, because there are the sporty cars. Sporty car is the batteries need, yes, and no. But there was a voice about, let's say, upcoming technologies. We are having the factory in Chile where are currently producing just 500,000 barrels of so-called e-fuel. We are harvesting carbon from the air, and let's say by the electrolysis which comes from the solar panels, we are converting the hydrogen and the carbon into the e-fuel. In 10 years, it will be 500,000,000 barrels production side. Currently, he has built the battery power plant in United States, in Europe, and now we are going to also launch the electric vehicles here in India, 2025, 2026. But again, is it enough cobalt or lithium on the world? Because we are producing 10 million cars a year to take it for 10 million batteries. No, it is not. So how we can be serious? So we're saying go for the electromobility and knowing that there is not enough cobalt and lithium. The magic is in the circular economy. The battery is now having living time for 8 to 10 years. Battery recyclability is up to 98%. So we are already having the factories for the batteries, taking batteries back, recycling back to lithium, cobalt, and build the new life for the batteries. And just recently, it was announced yesterday, changing from the lithium to natrium. Natrium is a particle, fixed particle on the Earth, where it has no issue with the heating up of the battery. It consumes electricity much faster than the lithium ion based batteries. But for the automotive industry, it means we are starting now to be ready in all 2050. And this is our commitment that we are putting all of our profit into circular economy, into electric and e-fuel based vehicles. Is it still enough? No, it is not. And if you remember, I started at the beginning with the word chain of the influence. For example, our company, we are hiring every day 1,000 people. This is quite small for India, let's say, in the PM of 300,000 people. But each and every of our employees, and there are 200 students every year coming from the university with getting 12 and certified of all of those aspects. We are, say, giving them 6 months free of training. Also for the environment, equality, or the economic knowledge, because all of them are coming from the universities or level 2 or level 3 cities. But they really no economic experience. So they are getting into that issues. So it is our corporate responsibility to train those people to be really valid part of the community. And this is not only India. This is area what I'm showing here. It's not only India. This is our credo, and this is our commitment of the Volkswagen people in transformation, and this is back to us, back to me. So I can be scared and say, "Oh, this is for what is doing the bad." No. If I don't start with the myself, if I don't start with the plastic, or sorry, let's say, to burn out the waste somewhere, let's say, in the land, which is full in the land as well. If I could, let's say, start thinking, do I need really expensive water supply from the France? No, I can also import here. Or, let's say, do I use the barrels instead of, let's say, buying the plastics? And let's say, yes, it means that I have to go to the shop somewhere, bring the barrels. But this is still something what I can do personally on my own. I can run the biggest here. So it is everything starting with us. These are not bad corporates, I would say, the CEOs of the corporates, let's say, doing this material work. So this is how historical sake. So ignorance or being scared or let's say archaic concepts. The India is a good example of last 75 years, you influenced by each and every individual so much, and you grow your company or let's say your income regional level. This year, you are president in G20, said that you can read its 5,000 years history of India, and is the vegetarian, say, food. And so, see me as though I still have to do something. But if we don't start to stop eat the meat in the world, for example, the biggest pollution is coming from the agriculture. The Holland, Netherlands, this is the one of the biggest oil polluting country just because of raising the fruits there. And the RPU and the CO2 emissions coming from that. Can we eat the veggies like in India? Yes, we can. So, and this is what we can teach us. So, because I'm the blocker to the launch, I will stop my communication on this, but I will show something what I will powerful on my What is very quickly Mr. Prime Minister Singh, years ago there was nothing. He met as a bikers somewhere, let's say, on the internet, and he found, let's say, that he wants to do something for the society. So we have grown in the NGO, which we ran for 2 years out of our, let's say, private money. Now it is 120 children and the mothers from the communities, let's say, from Punjab. And the point is, now the mothers of the children are coming. And the woman inclusion, and we are having unity, we are now company, that we are increasing, and there is a program to award the winners as a youth. But the point is, if we award the winners, if we give, so to say, inclusion to the mothers, every mother has influence 4 or 5 mothers. And this is the difference in our methods. Now it's a manual. But ladies, please, so who should and be communicative and teachers please tell it to the students, the women empowerment. This is one of the biggest potential here for the India. And I can see when we started with the achievements 2 years ago, that was that I entered the role and so now they are enthusiastic, the mothers are coming, and they are learning the English and everything will say a better future for their children. And this is what we generate and all of us can do. You didn't spend your Sunday volunteering on Sunday. You didn't spend, let's say, collecting of used bottles. And this is what is the greater than the Volkswagen. And I am this listening to me. So this is the revolution. This is the this is what everyone, the people who are looking for. These things as a message and put the government corporates. Thank you.
come to the closing session of the inaugural session is closing, and I'm inviting my co-convener, Dr. Vijay Kaur, to give closing remarks very quickly. And everybody is waiting for tea.
Quickly is a challenge because we have such diverse yet integrated views. I'll try to be quick, but excuse me if I don't. It was truly an enthralling, captivating, and scintillating session. Summing up the session, Professor Kamal Gill gave beautiful remarks of inclusiveness in the sense of belongingness and broadening the relationships among society. Poverty is something to be ashamed of. She stressed on expanding choices and human dignity and equity. She mentioned inclusiveness as a part of both economic and social structure and hailed the government policies for wider cultural society. Our respected principal mentioned initially the dominant philosophy was centered towards growth, but over time we realized we need to introduce redistributive policies. India poverty is lopsided more in rural areas. We need to make policies more inclusive to target them. Per capita income cannot be a savior, it is rather emotionless, and therefore we need to make it more sustainable. Our keynote speaker, Mr. Jenna, mentioned corporates should play a meaningful role in sustainability. Government is a body which can only channelize but not implement. There is a necessity to mitigate climate changes and adaptation to climate changes. He warned these changes can lead to a fall in agricultural production by 15% and economic growth by 4.5%. Huge capital requirements make it challenging. We need to design policies to mobilize capital in form of grants, concession of capital, financial regulation. He laid hope in the future generation in enhancing the net zero target. Dr. Han Demirag, to begin with, elated with the gender equal audience present here. IFAD is working in the area of inclusiveness by targeting the deprived ones in the marginalized and remote areas. He mentioned providing technology is not sufficient. Farmers face the problem of less capital and absence of market, and also face financial and social riskiness. We need to support the woodland to save the planet. Small-scale farmers are doing well by using climate technology. IPAD has launched rural development programs in Uttarakhand to drive in markets and help tribal women in Madhya Pradesh. Agriculture is more of a social business in India, according to him, and we need to make farmers more competitive and sustainable, for which we need to support them in terms of provision of markets, finances, which would make them more bankable. Respected Professor Balram Paniji boldly agreed that India is working a better way to sustainability and inclusiveness. One family, one earth, one future is what we have today due to technology. Sustainability means potential growth with minimal hampering effect. Inclusiveness means development of every micro to macro organisms and almost every living organism. He explained green energy finance is needed, and then it will lead to mindful growth of the economy. Technology can be exchanged and world can be united. Our guest of honor, Mr. Amitabh Behet, engaging with the issues of sustainability and inclusivity requires understanding parameters of sustainable development goals and our constitution. According to him, the title of the theme is both ways, some way myth, some way reality. Certainly, we have come a long way in terms of overcoming the social economic hurdles. However, there are still challenges in terms of inequality. He highlighted few dimensions of inequality, where in India, the income levels are highly skewed, are unbearable numbers, and certainly not sustainable. It is the biggest threat and we need to immediately address it. Gender inequality is heart-wrenching in India and equally important. Levels of inequality are becoming obscene in sense of income, gender, caste, nature. Mr. Yan started with reality opinion of the theme. According to him, India is doing great and reaching the goal, but it is not enough. He proudly hailed the contribution of his company Volkswagen in lowering carbon emission. He gave technical explanations of how it is being done. Volkswagen is producing e-fuel by harvesting carbon emissions. However, the company does not want to sit back and is contributing to inclusive development by training the students. He showed us a video of how they are helping children and their initiatives of Scope for Change. Mr. Yan and his company is working in a diversified manner for upliftment of the entire human life. To sum up, with sound macroeconomic fundamentals, robust public finances, soaring manufacturing and export trajectories, and resolute climate action leadership, India is in a bright bright spot on global horizon. However, at the same time, we cannot be complacent of our achievements and have to put our best foot forward every time, assuming more is less in the arena of sustainability and inclusiveness. On behalf of our college, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the panelists for their time, effort to be with us, and their willingness to share their expertise. We believe their insights will help us to achieve our goals and make a positive impact in our community. With this, we conclude our inaugural session, and I request everyone to join us for a cup of tea and refreshments.
Before we actually proceed for tea, I'd like to felicitate Professor Edwin Chadha, please sir, and Professor Dangi from Department of Commerce. Professor Chadha he's retired from Department of Psychology, and he's associated with us for so long. And I would really say that he's a family. And in every now and then he was there, whenever we call him, he's already there. Please felicitate sir with plunger. Currently, ma'am will felicitate Professor Chadha. And would you please felicitate Professor Dani? He's so humble, he's always there, always guiding us in research methodology. Every time we call him, he's there. Thank you, sir. I think now all of us can proceed for tea. Thank you, everyone. Please join us. Time is 15 minutes, please.
of sustainability extends across economic, environmental, and societal development. Implementing sustainability across sectors involves judicious planning of the available resources, of course, keeping in view the green practices and monitoring their progress. A holistic approach of sustainability directs us towards practices that enhance the quality of life, access to natural resources without degrading their condition and upholding the notion of mindfulness. It includes environmental economic systems and the way in which they interact with artificial systems, including societal behavior. In brief, the core concept of sustainability is to fulfill our own needs without compromising the needs of the future generation. With this brief introduction, I would like to introduce highly acclaimed distinguished speakers for this session. Our first speaker for this session, Dr. Sunil Pandey, Senior Fellow and Director of Environment and Waste Management Division at the Energy and Resource Institute. Sir is working as Director, the Emerson Center for Sustainability and Adjunct faculty at TERI. He has more than 30 years of consultancy and research experience in the areas of municipal, industrial, and hospital waste management, their linkages with climate change and circular economy, and also resource efficiency. Sir has obtained his PhD degree in hazardous waste characterization from Nagpur University while working as project fellow at NIRI, Nagpur. Prior to this, Dr. Pandey worked for Environmental Resource Management India and at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology on development of landfill line. Sir, it is our privilege to have you with us, and I request Dr. Sarabpreet and Mr. Weber to do the honors to welcome him with a planter and a shot. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Vaibhav and Sarabpreet. Our next speaker for the day is Dr. Shelly Kedia, Senior Fellow and Associate Director, the Energy and Resource Institute. Dr. Shelly is also a policy researcher with the Center for Sustainable Development, Research and Leadership at TERI. With over 17 years of experience, her core research interests include mainstreaming sustainable development, green budgeting, sustainable consumption and production, interfaces with climate policy, international organizations, traditional and non-traditional security issues. She is also the curator of TERI's flagship initiative, the World Sustainable Development Summit. In the past, Dr. Kedia has worked with the Sustainable Development Network of the World Bank in Washington, D.C. She has also worked with the Center for Climate System Research at Columbia University and NASA Goddard Institute for Space Studies in New York. Now I request Mrs. Bhupinder and Professor Sangeeta to please welcome Dr. Shelly with a planter and a shot. The next speaker, Ms. Saiba Gupta. She is a research analyst with the water program at the Council of Energy, Environment and Water. She is an urban planner and architect with 5 years of professional experience and is currently working on promoting circular economy models in urban waste water management. Ms. Saiba has earlier worked at the National Institute of Urban Affairs as a research associate in the fields of urban policy design and capacity building. She worked on drafting master plan for Delhi 2041 in association with DDA and was also involved in a large-scale stakeholder engagement exercise as part of it. She's been associated with Sustainable Cities Integrated Approach pilot program in India. She has worked on urban infrastructure projects around Chandigarh and also in the development plans of new towns in Maharashtra. She holds a master's in urban planning and policy design from Italy and a bachelor's in architecture from India.
She is currently pursuing a postgraduate diploma in urban environment management and law. It's really good to know at such young age you are doing prolific work. Yeah, now I request Professor Ravinder and Dr. Manju to present Ms. Saiba and Kanthal and now, the moderator of our session, Dr. Yamini Gupta, she is a professor in the Department of Finance and Business Economics at University of Delhi. She has completed many international and Indian research projects on environmental, biotechnology, restoration ecology, economic aspects of informal sector activity in solid waste, and modeling studies on GHG emission and emission intensity of Indian economy. Her recent research has been on the valuation of economic system, services, waste sector, degraded economic systems, and changes in the livelihood pattern. She has published in many renowned journals and also co-edited and co-authored a number of books. Currently, MAM is a member of an international consortium working towards realizing a circular economy. She has also held several administrative positions in Delhi University, including Joint Dean International Relations and Joint Director at the Center.
Taken them a mission to remind them if they are going to exceed 10 minutes, so they won't mind. So let's start with Dr. Sunil Pandey.
Thank you, Professor, and good afternoon, all of you. Though the presentations were designed typically for 15 minutes, I'll wind up in 10 minutes. So what I'm going to discuss is about what Professor Bhargava Pani also said in the morning in his opening remarks about the green economy, and related aspect of that is the green growth. When you look at the initial budget speech of Honorable Finance Minister this year, she also emphasized among the various other items, waste to wealth and green growth. We need to go for green growth. So this is one of the recent reports, international global report, international resource panel report of 2020, which actually compares how our resource extraction has increased very dramatically over the year and associated emissions. It was 15% resource extraction earlier in around 1995. It has gone up to 23% among the various resources, and those mainly those resources which are used in infrastructure development, metal, wood, related resources. So what's happening is, because of that, we know that the resources are limited. You cannot only depend on your primary material supply. These courses in the last 2 3 years, it's already evident that policymakers are seriously looking at these issues. So adopting green growth is a government effort, not only ensures that economic growth happens, but at a lesser material use, at a lesser kind of damage. So it's a win-win situation, adopting green growth. From this, I'll very quickly shift to some of the waste management resource recovery opportunities. This is a typical composting plant which composts waste in a mixed form. And on the your right hand side, you see the rejects which are coming out of compost plant. What are the opportunities for this rejects? Because compost can be used in soil to improve fertility. Rejects can be processed into something which we call a fuel which is derived from refuse derived fuel. And this is a kind of processing scheme. This is how a typical refuse derived fuel looks like. And once it is processed into fuel, it can be very conveniently bagged, transported, used, less very easy to handle. Calorific value goes up. And one possible use of this is in cement plants. We have a lot of cement plants. And advantages at high temperature, when you burn these to replace coal, there is no pollution because at high temperature, generate power. Government of India is now also very seriously pursuing this something. This is something which we call landfill mining, opening up the landfills, using all the resources which can be used either for recycling or for converting them into reduced biofuels, or inert material which comes out for the holding and or becoming the solar. So let's I'll close with the message that let's move from linear economy to circular economy. Thank you so much for your time.
Many thanks, Dr. Pandey, for sticking to your time limit. Before I invite Dr. Shelley Kedia, I'd like to talk a little bit about the circular economy, which is what I was initially supposed to do before I was asked to also moderate. But I assure you it will not be even 10 minutes. Can you start the PPT for circular economy? Okay, so this is what I'll briefly talk about, the concept. So there have been many references to a circular economy starting with the inaugural session, and one of the speakers is sitting right here. So let's see what is really a circular economy. So in a regular or linear economy, as we say, we take materials or natural resources from nature, we make products out of them, we use them, and eventually we throw them away as waste. The process is what we call a linear process. Take, make, dispose pattern of production and consumption. By contrast, in a circular economy, we stop the waste being produced in the first place. So it may not be 100% stoppage of the waste, but to as large an extent as possible. Next slide. So there are three basic principles that govern the idea of a circular economy. The first is that it eliminates waste and pollution. Secondly, it involves circulation of products and materials based on their highest value and to regenerate nature. That's the third principle. So the fundamental idea behind this concept is to transition to renewable energy and materials. So a circular economy decouples economic activity from the consumption of finite resources. It is a resilient system that is good for everybody. Next slide. So the first principle in a little bit of detail, there is actually no waste in nature. If you think about it, if you look at a forest system, forest ecosystem, what is the waste generated there? If there are dead leaves that fall on the ground, they get converted into manure. Nothing is pretty much wasted in a natural setting. It is man-made.